Episode 65.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to our chat. I got all my notes ready to go. Before we hit record, you said conversation. Conversation is how we get through a lot of things.
Mm.
I want to get deep with you and all, but like, talk to me about that conversation of its anniversary of the first album. We should do something. How did that conversation even start?
Um, the conversation started with somebody who's not even in the band. It was a friend of mine. So every Wednesday, me and three of like my best friends, we get coffee on Wednesday mornings together and just sit and watch people terribly parallel park and make fun of them and stuff. And and so my friend Lupe, he owns a vinyl company called Paper and Wax, and and we were just kind of talking, and I had let him know that the guys in Major League, we hadn't spoken in 13 years. Well, 10 years for most of us, but 13 for like the full band. And and so while we were talking, I had let him know, guys are talking again, yada yada yada. And he was like, the truth is turns 15 this year, and you've never pressed it on vinyl. Why don't you let Paper and Wax do that? And I was like, dude, to be honest, because it's been 15 years and I just don't know that anybody cares. Like the band's been broken up for 10. That came out when we were 19, 20 years old. So, I was like, would be cool, and he was just kind of like, bro, all my homies love Major League. So he was like, let me just press it. Let me press it on vinyl. And if it does nothing, who cares? Then at least the record's on vinyl. And if there's a few people that pick it up, like it's still cool for them. And I was like, you're right. No harm, no foul. Let's do it. So I text the rest of the guys. I did some exclusive artwork and stuff. I do graphic design. So I like did some exclusive artwork and we put it up, and Lupe put up like a couple hundred copies of it. And he texted me like 15 minutes later and he was like, bro, we're sold out. And I was like, excuse me? And he was like, it went up like 12 minutes ago. And he was like, I actually put it up 2 minutes early. And before it actually, if like was officially supposed to be live at noon, like between 11:58 and noon, the pink variant already sold out. And he was like, these are flying. We should probably do more. And I was like, geez. All right. So we did that. I thought that was super cool because this thing that you did when you were 19, you're never expecting that, like, when you're in your 30s, this is still going to be something that will carry me somewhere. And so that happened. And then the following morning, I woke up to a text from our old booking agent. And he was like, so what's up with the band? And I was like, we were just putting up some vinyl and stuff. And he's like, well, I've got an offer and I don't think you guys should turn it down. And he sent it to us. And we were like, yeah, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. Let me talk to the rest of the guys. And I talked to the rest of the guys, and everybody was kind of like, hey, man, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Let's have some fun with it. And it's weird. It's like a weird thing to experience because, like I said, we hadn't talked in like 13 years, and so to be like presented with this thing, and for all of us, there was a lot of like bad blood at the time and whatnot when we had broken up, and um and so for everybody to come back to this with who we are now, um I just felt like, yeah, that redemption arc rules. Like, to meet people
Yeah.
where they are now and not hold them for who they were when you remembered them, kind of thing. It was like exciting to get to relearn each other and be like, what have you been up to for 10 years? Oh my God, this guy's got a kid and this one's doing this and this one works here. And yeah, it was just such a cool experience for that, like that one conversation at coffee to turn into this whole thing. So
That's amazing. I mean,
yeah,
there's so much to unpack right there. I
sure,
love that you mentioned like this redemption arc and the bad blood versus now. We got to talk about that.
sure.
But
Yeah.
the truth is, so what is the truth?
So that was kind of the point of that EP was we had just come out of we had like one of those stories that like you'd see in like Airheads or something. It was like we were 19 years old. We made our singer Nick and our drummer Justin at the time, and we made fake passes to like a Philly music conference. And we went in with one song on a CD and we were handing them out. And like one thing led to another, and a week later we found ourselves showcasing at a major label. Um, they signed us to a production deal, and then they shelved us for a year and a half. And I think during that year and a half, where you went from this kid who I didn't know if I couldn't go to college. I was a dropout. So like, I didn't know if I was going to go to college. I didn't know what was going to happen, to now I'm signed to a major label. My life is about to change. I'm doing that thing that only happens to bands and movies. Um, to immediately, "Oh, you're shelved. We actually don't want you to do anything. We kinda just wanted this one song to see what it would do, and it kinda didn't do anything, and because we've already invested, we'd rather not spend more money on you and recoup that, so just sit here until we say so." And, um, and I think, like, we just went through an identity crisis.
Mm,
It made us really close at the time because, like I said, we were all 19 years old and whatnot, and I think all of us were feeling like, "Should we just not do this? Like, what is this thing?" But when we would get together and we would write and we would, like, jam together and stuff, I mean, they barred us from even playing shows and stuff. We couldn't do anything. Um, and I think that, like, through that process, we kind of started to figure out actually who our band was, and this thing that seemed like this huge roadblock at the time was actually a blessing in disguise, because if our band would have just popped off from who we were at 19 right in that moment, we probably would have been really embarrassing. Like, we didn't really know each other at that point. We are still trying to figure each other out. And and so I think that, like, that being able to have that year of just being with each other, we were all, like, basically living together, playing music every day, writing, getting tighter with our songwriting and playing and all that stuff. Um and I just think that, like, during that time, once we were able to get out of that contract per, like, our lawyers and stuff, I think we were just kind of like, "Okay, we found out, like, what the truth of this band is. Like,
mm,
this is who we are." What we were trying to do before, we were just kind of following in other footsteps. We were just kind of finding out what was kind of the hot thing going on, and we were like, "Let's just do that." And you know how labels are and whatnot, they were just kind of like, "Yeah, great, that's relevant. We'll take it. Like, here's our new version of this thing that's out." And, and I think that getting signed off of the false pretenses of, like, this isn't actually who we were just kind of following a script kinda thing, um, I think it was, like I said, like a blessing in disguise. We were like, "Thank God that that didn't take off, and now we get to figure out who our band really is." And I think that authenticity in that EP and giving each song is another truth of how we felt about things. Um, and so I think being able to do that, and put that foot forward, that authentic foot forward with things, was the best thing that happened to us, clearly, because 15 years later, it still matters. So,
yeah.
well, yeah, just that's really where, like, that's like a elongated synopsis of what that EP was for us. It was, it was everything at the time. So,
That's amazing. I mean, I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. Things happen how and when they're supposed to. And the more we go with the flow and let go and view obstacles not as obstacles, but just things that we need to either address or avoid, the easier the path is. It's funny how not only did that come up with the label, but then now 15 years later, it also kind of just unfolded. Was it like a fluke that your booking agent just texted you the next day, or was he already following the sales of the vinyl?
I think it was a promoter that had contacted him, so it just kinda happened to fall on his desk because on all of our old socials and stuff, he was still listed as the booking agent, and
Mm,
so it was kind of that thing, that promoter was a fan of the bands, and he had seen the vinyl get posted, then 10, 15 minutes later, saw that it said sold out and was like, "Hang on a second. Like, if this band's doing that, like, maybe I could get them for a show." And, and so that's kind of how that whole thing, I think, kind of, like, paired itself together, in a way.
yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you for, going with the flow and agreeing to vinyl, and then obviously opportunity arose and now you're taking advantage of that. Let's go back though,
Mhm.
to this 19-year-old kid who's making fake passes. Most people don't have most people are too scared to do things like that, right? To be out of a comfort zone, to put themselves in front of a group of people, to get out there. Is that something that you were born with, that you learned from your parents? Like, how did you become confident and aggressive like that?
Um Well, my parents, I mean, they had me young. They were like 20 and 21 when they had me. And I think that they are just in their nature kind of rebellious people. And I think so there's a little bit of that, but I think it was also a lot of just ignorance. I didn't know how the world works. Like I said, like, I was a dropout. I didn't know how anything worked. All I saw was movies. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go up to a radio station and hold somebody hostage like Airheads. So I'm like, what's the next best thing I can do? Well, we can burn our CDs. There's a Philadelphia music conference. The hilarious part of it was I didn't know that it was an R&B and hip hop conference. Like
Oh, that's
pretty
funny.
much only. There was no like indie music or alternative or anything. It was just hip hop and R&B. So we made these passes and then we got in there and our rule of thumb was like anybody that's wearing sunglasses inside, give them a CD because they might be somebody. That was it. And so we like split up and we were just going around and handing people and guys walking past stuff being like, I already got one. I'm like, all right, someone already got them. So um but yeah, I think it was just dumb gumption. And
Mm.
and I love that. I think that like looking back, like, yeah, do I know better than that now? But I think that's part of like the beauty of being young is you get forgiven for things like that. I just turned
Yeah.
37 the other day. If I walked out to a music conference right now with a CD and was made fake passes and tried handing them out, chances are I'm going to get blackballed. People are going to be like, dude, you should know better than this. Are you kidding me? Like my constituents that I write music with now and whatever would be like, that's so embarrassing. I can't work with that guy. But when you're 19, everybody's like, all right, kid, like you got some balls. Like, let's do
Yeah.
this. So, I I don't know how I was that way. I don't know who that kid was. I've changed so much since then. But like I thank him every day in the mirror that like
Yeah.
I appreciate what you did back then. Like I appreciate whatever silliness was happening in your mind that thought that that was okay.
Which is funny because like that, I mean, as much as you might chalk it up to just being young, and I'm sure we all did stupid things when we were young. I mean, heck, I still do stupid things now, and I'm 45.
Sure.
But like you guys were also known for being really DIY and hardworking. So like that work ethic and that like hustle was already there, and it didn't stop.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think that also came with um you know, our when we first all met up, I had started the bands in high school and then found these guys through like, people leaving and who doesn't want to tour and whatever else. So by the time we got to the five of us that were at that time,
Mm,
there was like an understanding that like our motto was just like at all costs. Like whatever it takes, we're gonna do this. Like because our drummer at the time, his dad owned a company, and his dad was like, "You're gonna come work for me. This is what your life is gonna be." And he was like, "That's not my dream. That's not what I want to do." Our singer was like, "I have nothing going on. I work at the YMCA, so hell yeah, let's do this." I convinced our other guitarist Matt to drop out and do this with me. I was like, "Yo, just let's just do this. Let's just get in a van and go." And our bassist Eric, like he and I were friends for a long time and had skated together and stuff. So he was just kind of like, I'll follow your lead. Like let's do this thing. And and we kind of all agreed, like at all costs. Like let's make
mhm.
something happen here because the alternative to it not happening kind of sucks. And the longer that we try to do it, like the further out we'll be from work experience and whatever else. And so it was like it's now or never. We can't like kind of sit on our hands and be like, well, maybe by the time we're 25 something will happen or whatever. And it happens for everybody at different times, of course, but like I think for us when we were in that moment, it was just like the perfect concoction of so many different like experiences and life choices and who we were at the time just got mixed into this like all right, let's do it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And having no wrong answer I think was also big for us. It was kind of like we're just trying things. So there's no right or wrong answer here.
You mentioned Airheads twice now. I love that movie. It's actually been forever since I've seen it, so I'm gonna go and rewatch that, maybe with my kids. But the at all cost thing is so important, and I think that we often reference it as an artist or an entrepreneur or a creative, like seize the
Sure.
opportunity, but that's life, period. How many people in this world are sitting there saying, as soon as I move, things will be better. I can't wait until I retire. It's always I can't wait until, as opposed to I'm just gonna do it now.
Yeah.
I'm 45. It was during the pandemic. I moved from Toronto to Vancouver, and people were saying like, "Oh my god, that must have been so hard. It's crazy." And I'm like, "Actually, it really wasn't. We just paid for a moving company to ship our stuff, found a
Right.
new place, and that was it." We put down roots, but then it was during that first couple years where I was like, "Why do I live in chaos and then seek peace on the weekend? Shouldn't it be the other way around?
Mhm.
And so we moved to this place not too far from the city. It's 40 minutes to like, the clubs downtown, but I'm
Sure.
surrounded by mountains and ocean. It's totally chill here. It's basically an old age community.
Yeah.
And I'm living like a retired life, but I don't feel retired because I'm working harder than I ever have before. But I have that calm during my like day to day. And then when Friday comes and I'm like, chaos time, I'll go out. And
Yeah.
it only happened because I made it happen. I chose to move. I didn't wait.
Yeah. No, 100%. I similarly, my wife and I, girlfriends at the time, when in 2019, we were living in New York together. That's where we met. And I was like the most depressed I had ever been. Um, it was post major league, so like the band had already broken up. I was starting a new project and doing music again. But really just every day in the city and the cold and the wind and whatever else was just really starting to weigh on me. Our apartment was terrible. We were like right off the side of a highway. Um, and I said to her, I came out of the bathroom brushing my teeth one morning and I was like, "You want to move to California?" And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Ask your job for a transfer." She works for Sony Music. So I was like, "Sony Music is out there. Ask your job for a transfer. Let's see if we can do this." And she was like, that seems huge. I was like, "Our lease is up in a month. I think that we're gonna have to make some sort of move here. I can't do this. I'm not happy." And I really feel like the sun might change my brain chemistry. I don't know, but I at least need to try it. But for years I had said, like, "Oh, I would love to live in California." And the same thing you're saying, like, I joke with my dad all the time that if everyone believed in themselves as much as I believe that I'll do it tomorrow, the world would be a better place. Because I always say like, "I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, yeah, I'll do it." The confidence I have that I'll do it tomorrow is unbeatable. And so I said to her, I was like, "I don't want to wait until some grand moment. I can't wait for Prince Charming to knock the door and be like, 'Hey, you want to come to California with me?'" So it's like we're either gonna do this or we're not. And she asked her boss that next day at work. He was like, "I'll put in a transfer for you if you want." She came home, we made some calls, we went online, we found an apartment in Burbank and packed up our trailer and our dog and cat, and we were on our way. And that was like in within 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
all of our friends and family were like, "Are you guys insane? Like, what do you mean? We sold all of our furniture. We bought all new stuff when we got here." We were like, "I just need to get out of here. We just need to try it. And if we're back in 6 months, we'll see you in 6 months. I don't know. This might not work, but," and we've been here for 7 years now. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Good for you. Isn't it funny how people will say in those moments, like, "Are you insane?" When I'm like, "No, I'm being the most logical and rational that I've ever been." You just feel that way because to you it seems like a lot, but
right,
it's not.
right. Yeah, there's that, what's that Adams Family? I think it's the Adams Family. What's what's normal to the spider is chaos to the fly. And
Mm,
that's exactly that. It's like to them, it's like, "What are you nuts?" I'm like, "You're nuts for staying here. It's freezing. I'm miserable." Like, so
good for you. Good for you for having the tenacity and the drive and the push to go and do that and make the change. Change only happens by choice or force, and most of the time it's by force, right? Like something will happen in our lives, a bad accident, a breakup, and you're like, "Oh man, I didn't realize that I was unhappy until this thing happened, but I would have never taken the actual initiative to make that move to get out of my routine otherwise." Um,
right.
Talk to me about the industry. I mean, like, I'm going somewhere with this in terms of like, your relentless DIY stuff, but do you find it really different now, 10 years later than when you were running around with a band in 2016?
For sure. It's changed a lot. It feels like a completely different world post COVID. Beforehand, so you go from 2009 to 2016. Those were the years that the band was like its most active. So from 2009, MySpace was dying, and Facebook was really like kind of starting to become a new thing, but not really for bands so much. It was like that's just where people were communicating.
Yeah,
So there wasn't really a website that was like happening. I mean, there was like Tumblr and stuff, but like there wasn't anything that we felt like this is our marketing tool. So we were going out there to malls. We were booking shows in certain areas. And so if we booked a show in like Decatur, like we would go to Decatur, then we go to the local mall in Decatur with a CD player or an iPod with our album on it, and we'd hang out by like Hot Topic and stuff. And if someone walked out with a Day to Remember shirt or a band that kind of fit the similar vibe, we'd be like, hey, you like A Day to Remember, you're gonna love our band. You want to check us out? Yeah, sure, I don't care. And they'd listen to us, and then we're playing tonight at such and such venue. If you want to come out, we can sell you a ticket now. We can, and it'll be cheaper than if you buy it at the door. I mean, yeah, I got nothing going on tonight. How many friends you want to bring? Like, well, I'll give you a CD too for your troubles. Like, awesome. Yeah, I'm down. And then they take your CD and then you see them at the show that night and only 15 people are showing up because out of the 35 you talk to, 15 of them were like, "Ah, I'll give it a shot. I have nothing to do." Um, and so we were just like, we were so just not in the realm of the internet and whatnot. And then I remember the first time we stayed at a girl's house and she was like, "What's your guy's Instagram?" And I was like, "What the hell's an Instagram?" And like, this was like 2011, I think. And she's like, "You don't know what Instagram is?" And like, explained the whole thing. She made our Instagram for us, like took our phone, downloaded the app and stuff. And so that was like the first introduction to like, oh, you can just directly get in contact with people. You can just post something and they'll see it and they can interact with it in real time because this is before the algorithm of just chronological order. So I'm like, if
Mhm.
I post a show this morning on something, it will show up directly in someone's feed. So they'll see it today. She's like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then we started using Instagram and whatnot to our advantage, but still not to the extent of like viral or anything like that. It was still very much you had to like it's about community, like so it
Mhm.
was very much we had to get out there. We still had to meet these people. We still had to make sure we went to the merch table afterwards and meet the people and make sure that, there's some sort of human interaction happening here because again, that authenticity and people being able to see you, you're not just trying to like be a used car salesman and sell a product. You're
Right.
selling yourself. These are your stories. These are your music, your thoughts, everything. So you want to kind of make sure that those people know that like who I'm investing in is someone worth investing in. Um and
So that
so yeah.
Can I just jump in for a second? So, like,
Yeah.
that personal touch and the DIY, like, that's something that you've done for a really long time.
Mhm.
How have you, like, transposed or superimposed that ideology into the world of tech now, where you still do that one-to-one, that, like, salesman outside of the Hot Topic thing? 'Cause there's still value to that, but I know what you mean, where you can reach so many more people instantly through tech.
Right. Well, I think one responding to every comment and DM that we get and whatnot. That's always been important to me. And Nick, our singer as well. He and I are the ones who run our social media, and so like we just make sure that like yeah, when I'm going to bed at night, instead of just surfing Instagram or TikTok or whatever. I just go on and start responding to all the messages that came in today and responding to comments and stuff to make people just feel like they're getting that interaction. And that it isn't just like, hey, look what we did and then keep scrolling. It's like, oh, look what they did. I like this so much. I'm going to say something because I know they're going to respond to me. I know there's going to be a conversation to be had here. Um, and that's just important. I think it's in the social media world where we are just scrolling past things all the time to not only have uh, I hate like the content thing, but it is important. It's important that whatever you're producing and putting out there, the internet now, your pages, they're your little art gallery. These are the things that you're creating and you're showing them to the world. Um, and people are interacting with it. Do I want these people to just see what I did and move on? Am I doing it for the views, or do I want them to genuinely feel like they're a part of a community? They're a part of something bigger. And so that's how I think we've transitioned that going to the mall and meeting people face to face to like the internet is just now our mall. It's just like, this is our spot to connect with these people and stuff. Um, and it's interesting how it shifted so much from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic.
Right.
Because still even pre-pandemic, 2016, even when Instagram was big and whatnot, I think it was still just so much less of what this is now. And now it's like you've got to be a personality. You have to put yourself out there. Whereas like before, it was a mixture of both.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
So authenticity is key. Having a personal touch is key. I mean, I always wonder what it's like when you start to get to a point where you have, millions of followers and there's so much inbound communication, how you balance having someone help manage that and then also have the personal touch.
Mhm.
But you did just now say community for the second time, similar to Airheads. You've referenced community twice, and there's a quote that I actually wanted to bring up where you said, "Our band was lucky enough to be part of this special scene where community is everything." And
Mhm.
so I want to get your take on community because I think community is really important too. And there's so many different, definitions of that from a micro and macro perspective. But what does it mean to you? Like, did you grow up in a community and then that superimposed itself into the world of the band?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Philadelphia, and I feel like Philadelphia is a major city that is like it's a small town masked as a major city. It's got such small town energy to it, and like you could go down to the corner store and they knew your parents and they also knew your grandparents and there's also skyscrapers, and so you kind of feel this like it was so ingrained from such a young age that yeah, that whole like it takes a village thing. Like when my mom and my dad were going through their divorce, it was friends and aunts and uncles or whoever was watching me at the time while they were going through their thing. And it never felt like, you're being neglected or anything like that because community was around you. There was like such a sense of that the entire time growing up. And so then coming into this, I think that for us, that like not letting people feel neglected by what this was. We don't want people to feel like, "Hey, watch what we can do," and then that's the end of it. Because it's like, "Okay, cool." Like, for me, making music or art or whatever it is, the goal for me is for someone else to see that and go, "Well, I wanna do it better than he did it." Because that's the way I did with the bands that I looked up to growing up. There was this feeling of like, that's super cool. I'm gonna do it cooler. And so to be able to like emulate that and have people like feel drawn to that enough that they want to go and create that your thing inspired that. I think that's all within that community. It's whether people are doing music or they're just there because they like the songs or a song changed their life or whatever it is. There's no, like there's no scale to it of like, "Well, this song changed this person's life, so they're up here at 10. This guy just came out because he heard the song on his iPod and, so he's down here." Like, everyone just gets treated the same. We are all here together. We're all here to do this thing, and, um, and it wouldn't exist without that. I think that, like, having like a fan base is like a cool thing, but we had, early on we started like this Wolfpack thing that was kind of silly. It was just a thing for the band. We just would say like Wolfpack never alone kind of thing. And it was like our little thing before we went on stage, like Wolfpack never alone. And I think that once like people started to hear that and lean into that, it it gave the community a name. It gave this thing that we were doing, it gave an umbrella to it where people started getting WPNA tattooed on them and like Wolfpack Never Alone. And people were coming up and showing us their wolf tattoos and stuff. And we are like, this is wild. Like, this is crazy. And then we also all went and got Wolfpack tattoos and stuff because we were like, well, I'm not going to leave that, let them just have all the fun. So, but I think that like, for us, it is just the most important part of it, is the people that surround us because without that community, those records would have never sold, so that show would have never happened, so this reunion wouldn't be happening, and so it's like, it was just such a reminder, like, when those people bought the vinyl and it sold out the way it did last year, it was just such a reminder that, like, yeah, we kind of did the one thing we said we'd never do, which was abandon that community. Like, we just kind of left it and because we had our own turmoil, and, like, wow, how selfish! Because what a wonderful little sector of the scene it is, and, you know
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that story with the Wolfpack, Never Alone. So did you borrow that from The Hangover, or was this pre-Hangover?
No, it was, like, I don't know when did The Hangover come
I
out?
don't remember when it came out, but it's like, as soon as you said Wolfpack, I was thinking of,
Yeah,
Zach.
I don't remember if it was, like, around the same time. It was, like, 2009, though. We had done, like, a little tour, and, And I was going through, like, a weird rough breakup, and I was, like, all bummed out in the back of the van, and the rest of the guys were like, "Yo, we're in this together," like, kinda thing. And we all just started saying, like, "Alright, Wolf Pack, never alone." And it's just funny how it just, like, it continued on and then was something that we kind of, were like, "Well, this is just silly." And everybody else was like,
Yeah.
"No, it's not. We're in it." We're like, "Oh, shit."
I think that that's the beauty of life is like people try to capture grunge and all these different trends, and most of the time it comes from something truly authentic and
Mm,
truly silly at times, and then it just snowballs, right? Because people
mm,
can identify with that, or want to jump on it because it is something that they feel as well. So Wolfpack Never Alone makes total sense how it came to be. As does this idea of community. What I've never heard before, and I loved your answer, was that when you saw other artists, you're young, playing guitar, you're seeing these pros on stage, and you're like, "That's cool. I want to do it better." And now, as an artist, it almost sounds like with your art, you're trying to invoke that in others, saying like, "Hey, man, do better than me. I want you to succeed. I want you to find, a groove and then ride that higher than me." Is that accurate?
100%. I had a my mom found a notebook years and years ago from when I was in, like, 4th grade, and in it, there was a, like, journal entry that said, "I'm gonna be the biggest artist in the world. I'm gonna be bigger than Michael Jackson." And I was like, what was that kid on? Like, that's like 4th grade me was just on another level. But, uh but yeah, I had always had that, like, I was so inspired by so many things when I was a kid, whether it was Bowie or Michael Jackson or David Byrne or, Aretha Franklin, whatever it was, like, anytime something new gave me that, like, tingly feeling, I was like, "I wanna do it better." Like, and I didn't even know what better meant. I don't have a voice like Aretha Franklin or Michael Jackson. I don't have the pizzazz that David Bowie does, but um, I just knew that whatever they're doing, I'm in. And so I think that, yeah, when you start creating, like, when I was younger, it was definitely from a place of ego for sure. I think that my ego wanted to be great at something, and so because of that, I was, like, very much forcing things to happen. Like you said, the Wolfpack thing, that came serendipitously. We didn't go out there and say, like, "Make sure you guys call us the Wolfpack, and this is the thing about." It was
Mhm.
something that they picked up on and was whatever, but there were so many other things that I was like, you know, choke holding, and I was like, "It's gonna work this way. It has to be done like this." And those are all the things that I failed at the biggest was the things
Yep.
that, I'd say it now. I talked about it with my wife, but, like, I viewed, like, the just creating in general, like cupping water in your hands, because when you just cup it, you can drink from it, you can wash your face with it, whatever you need to do. It can be so resourceful, but the second you grip it and you try and hold on to it, it slips through your fingers, it spills out everywhere, and it's like that is, like, so important to me to keep in mind when I'm working on something or doing something, is that, like, yeah, is there an end goal in mind to this? For sure, but the process to get there needs to be natural. If it takes me a week to do, it's gonna take me a week to do. If it takes me a year to complete, it might take a year to complete. Sometimes it's 40 minutes, and how lucky was I to just be in the flow of it and whatever, um, but I think that, like, the older that I've gotten, the more the inspiring another generation to do better than you has, like, just completely taken over the way I create, because it's, uh the monetary value of it, like, sure, is it wonderful to be paid to do what you love? Absolutely. There's anybody that says that's not cool was lying. But, like, I also think that the other aspect of it, especially for me, I'm so, like, worried about what I'm leaving behind on Earth, and the spiritual aspect of it, is that you're leaving something that someone else turns around someday and says, whether it's, 50 years from now, the next Olivia Rodrigo goes, "Yeah, there was this artist, Valistair," or which is my other project,
Mhm.
or Major League, that I, was inspired by on this song. And it's like, that would be the dream. Like, that would be the absolute dream, is that, like, someone down the line, picks something up and puts it on one day and sees their whole future in it. So,
Yeah. Are you a father yet?
I am not. which I think is part of my, you know, whole spiral with this thing.
No, but, like, you're speaking like a father, you sound like a
Yeah,
father, and the fact that you're already there, obviously speaks volumes to you and to your character, uh, but also I think indicates that you will be a great father because that's what the
thank you.
role is, I
Sure.
mean, you don't go into it necessarily knowing it, but once it happens, then you realize how much you really value things differently and you want to leave things better, that you want to be a better person and a better role model because now you have people directly looking at you saying like,
Sure.
"Okay, this is who I wanna be and or I'm going to be." Um, that's crazy. That's crazy that you're already there. So good for you. And also recognizing the flow. It took me a lifetime to realize that, it's the butterfly love analogy where, the butterfly is so delicate that if you squeeze it or touch the wings the wrong way, I think even just touch the wings, like the thing won't fly or it'll
Sure.
die. You have to just nurture it, but also let it be. And I've discovered that with business is that I'll get on the phone and I got my plan for the day written out. I got all my tasks. But then I also have other tasks that are important. And when I get on that first call with my business partner or team, whatever it is, someone will say something and say, "Oh, listen, I've been in this flow this morning. I've been working on this." And I'll say, "Oh man, that's like 3 pages back in my notes. I still have
Mhm.
to do it, but it's crazy that you brought it up. Let's pick that a little bit." And then before you know it, it flows into exactly what it's supposed to be. And maybe you didn't get anything on my today list done, but it wasn't meant to be. That
Right.
that stuff will get done when it's supposed to. And it doesn't happen like that every day, but
Of course.
I think it's really important to be open to that in order to get more done overall.
Absolutely. I think being open to the anomalies in life is so important, you know? We can't account for anything. I mean, the most people that die daily had a plan for tomorrow, you know? So
I
it's like
mean,
when certain anomalies come in that are this like, well, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Well, it's how you respond to it. How are you going to respond to it? Is it going to be something that, "Oh, this ruins my whole day. Now I can't, now this isn't going to happen with this. Or is it, all right, well, now this is on my plate. So here we go. Um, and I think that is something that I'm still learning because I have a hard time. I still have my temper tantrums about it. Are you kidding me? Um, but yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, there's so many times that exactly the example you just gave, where something that someone else brings up, like I was supposed to do this, you know, X amount of days ago or whatever it was, but now here it is. So let's get it done. Let's do this thing. Um, and yeah, man, it's so important to just let the like, whatever the flow is happening, just let it take you. It's the
yeah,
when you try and, you know, go against the current sometimes it's cool, sometimes you're 19 and you go against the current and, things work out, and sometimes, when you go against the current, it'll remind you later of, like, yeah, this is why you need to go with the flow, and
yeah. Well, I think that, like, going with the flow is also very different than, like, going against the grain, right? Because there's,
oh,
like, the
yeah,
rut of society and how we've been told to live and condition this, condition that. That's not necessarily flow,
sure,
so
yeah,
I do believe that artistic expression is supposed to be authentic, it's supposed to be genuine, and if it comes from a place of, you know, uh, it being very contrarian or different to everything that's happening or even being outspoken, that's okay if it's
sure,
authentic to you, if
yeah,
that's how you genuinely feel. Um, I don't know why, but earlier when you're talking about, being inspired and inspiring others, I was thinking of this metal band I used to listen to in high school, Clawfinger. There's like a German industrial
okay,
metal band. And they got this one song, "The Biggest, the Best, Better Than the Rest." And I remember just like that being very inspirational for me, saying like, "Hey man, you can do this. You can be the best ball player. You can be the best whatever it is." But that never once for me meant that other people couldn't as well. And I like
exactly,
that that's something that you brought up because I don't think that gets talked about enough. The rising tide raises all ships. Like, why can't I be the richest, best looking, most awesome man in the world? But then also everyone else is as good, if not better than me as well.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. The last song on the EP, The Truth Is, the song The Truth Is, in the chorus we say, I'm not a doctor, a pilot, or a lawyer marine, but I'm the best damn me that they've ever seen. And And that was, like, exactly that. It's not saying, like, me personally, I'm the best me that, like,
Mhm.
I could possibly be, and people taking that, and when they heard that song, there's so many people that, one, clown on it because it's not a doctor, a pilot, lawyer, comma, marine, and everybody always asks, like, "What's a lawyer, marine?" But, like, it's, but it's, like, it's that thing. It's like, I believe that everybody, if you're gonna do something, be the best at it. Like, that is my dad when I was younger. We had a conversation one time, and he brought up the whole, like, how many bands actually make it? And I was like, someone's gotta, like, why not me? Like, it's gotta happen to somebody at some point. Why not me? So, um, so yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been kind of in the back of my mind. It's just like, I don't see why not. It's gotta
Mhm.
happen to somebody. So,
So that character and selflessness kind of answers a couple questions that I had about the band, because I was gonna ask you, like, what it was like having your lead singer leave, and then you have to replace him on lead vocals, and
yeah.
then now he's back, and then you have to take a step back. But
Mhm.
because of, your selflessness and your desire to be the best and also this sense of community, it seems like there wasn't really this ego, maybe not now, uh, with worrying about that stuff. We're like, "Whatever, let's do this. Let's make it happen."
Yeah, I think, like, when he had first left the band, um, my ego was bruised for sure because I asked him to be the singer of this, right? Like,
That was
I
Nick,
invite
right?
what's that?
That was Nick.
Nick, yes. So when
Yeah.
Nick left, like, for me, like, I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" Like, I write the songs, I'm, like, doing everything I can. He and I were very much partners on a lot of this stuff, but, like, it I felt, like, so bruised with that, that, you know, I think that's why it caused a rift between us. When he left, we just stopped talking, and, I think that, like, when I became the singer of the band, it was, like, it really wasn't, like, so much about the ego because I became the singer only because my ego thought, "He'll be back." I was like, "Well, he'll be back, so I'll just sing for now," because, if we bring in a new singer, then we'd have to kick him out to bring Nick back, so I was like, "I'll sing for now. Once he's ready to come back and is done being a diva or whatever he wants to do, we'll pick up where we left off." He didn't come back, things got worse between us and whatnot, and so this time around, like, it was a no-brainer for me. I had spent all those years hoping that Nick would come back to the band and whatnot, and when we had the opportunity to do this again, it was like, yeah, I would never do it without Nick. Like, I I think that, like, I've never I've always tried to not have an ego about the art itself and the music and whatever else, but I did have an ego about the way things were run. I for sure if something, how do I put this? I was mistaking a lot of the guy's ignorance for malice, and I wasn't remembering the fact that we were all 22, we were all 23, we were all 24, and so when someone would do something, I would take that as, like, you're deliberately trying to hurt the band, you're deliberately trying to do this thing, and here comes, like, this iron fist now coming down,
Yeah.
and the older I got and the more removed I got from it after the band broke up and whatnot, the more I realized that, like, it was just some ignorance or just a lack of thought of us being 22 and not really like, yeah, we're all figuring this out, whatever. But because I had had such a vision with it and such like uh, an idea of how this needed to be, uh, I wasn't willing to accept a different version of that. And
Mhm.
maybe what they were about to bring was about to be a new version, and I cut that in half, and that goes back to, the difference between going against the grain and the flow. I was going against the flow on that. I was like, instead of going with it and just being like, "Yeah, we'll see what happens," I was like, "No, that's not what the band sounds like. That's not what we're doing." And, I think that, like, now doing it again with Nick and meeting these guys with where we are now, it's it's brought such a new exciting dynamic to the entire project, and for what's possible for us, and yeah, I don't know, ego's a wild thing. It's a it's a strange beast, man,
So you were like, emotionally invested, and there was a certain amount of rigidity, like you said, but then also when people were maybe not agreeing with you, you were taking it personally, as opposed to, like you said, in the moment realizing, okay, well, this is just them making this decision. It doesn't necessarily have to do with me.
Mhm.
Um, how did you foster the community? Like, when you guys said we should bring the band back together, how did you repair and heal and move forward?
Um, a big part of it was, I mean, we've had this talk a lot about transparency. Um, Transparency is just huge for us. It has to be. We need to like lay it all out on the table. What's going on? How are you feeling? Which the how are you feeling part of it is something we never did before. When we
Mm,
were younger and we were traveling, we're all on tour. We're all tired. We're all exhausted. We're all going through this thing. We're all sick right now, whatever it was. So when someone would complain about it, or like, "Yeah, man, I don't know, I'm just feeling anxious." Yeah, we're all feeling anxious, get over it. Like, that was, like, very much the attitude amongst all of us at the time. I remember when I came back from my grandfather passed away, so I flew home for the funeral, and then when I got back to the tour, I could just sense that, like, I was like, "You guys mad at me for something?" And it was like, well, yeah, I mean, we all had to stay here and continue going on without you. Like, well, I was like, yeah, I went home for a funeral, guys. Like, what? Like, well, yeah, I get that, but like, I don't know. Like, it just left us high and dry for a week, and you get this like, what do you want me to say about that? And like, we all did it to each other. Whereas this time around, usually when we get on a call, the first thing is, how are you feeling? What's going on, man? How you feeling? How are things? Asking about each other's lives and stuff. It's like being friends this time around comes first. Before, the band always came first. It was like you need to do what's best for the band at any given moment. Um, and I think coming into it this time around, showing up for each other in a way that is like, "Well, talk to me about it." Like, "Hey, I saw I saw your wife had posted this thing. Is everything all right? Like, hope her saw your son was sick. Like, what's going on with that? Oh, yeah, that sucks, man." Like, and talking it out, and sometimes it leads to much deeper conversations. Sometimes those conversations go from, I was just asking how everybody was feeling to like, yeah, dude, if you need to, call me at 2 in the morning, I'll be here. Like, I don't want you to
right.
go through this alone kinda thing, and you weren't expecting that. You were expecting, like, "Yeah, everything's good," like, and the conversation moves on. But it's really just, like, the foundation of this time around for us to be there for each other and talk this out. Not to, like, put him on blast, but our drummer, the day of the show, like, he texted us in a group chat and was like, "Dude, I didn't sleep last night. I feel like I don't know if I can play today." And we were like, "Brother, it's sold out. There's, like, we are 6 hours out from this thing." But we all took a step back and we are like, "What can we do? You wanna go grab
Mm,
some breakfast? You wanna go let's go grab some coffee, let's sit down, let's talk it out. Like, what's going on? What are you feeling?" Like, we met up, we did the whole, like, grab his shoulders and we shook him and like, "Come on, shake it out, shake it out." Like, "We got this, dude. And if it sucks, and we don't have to do it again." Like, but you're the best drummer I know, you're gonna crush tonight. You're doing the thing that comes natural to you. If anything, this should be the thing that rolls off the back for you, man. Like, you're gonna be great, and I don't want you to worry about it." Like, and, I think being able to be there and do that this time around, I think all of us kind of were like, after we got him to be on the come down, he was like, "Yeah, you know what? We're right." And we had a killer set. We were like, "Can't believe we did that. We got Luke to like a good spot." Like, because
yeah.
before we're just like, "Luke, you got to do this, man. Show sold out." Blah, blah." But yeah, being able to like be there for each other like that, it's just really wonderful. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of, personal growth, self-awareness, good communication or open dialogue with each other, which I'm all about. It's funny, I when I went to university the first year, I came from Europe. So Canada to Europe, I was playing ball and I went to the US on a partial baseball scholarship. And I was an international student because I was coming from a European high school, even though I'm Canadian and spoke perfect
Sure.
English. And for one reason or another, one of the first guys I met, this John, this American dude who's a couple years older than me, him and I just became friends. And he came from a long line of Navy SEALs, and he himself had gone through the Navy SEAL training, but then was discharged. I think he injured himself during the training, and he, if I remember correctly, said that they weren't going to keep people that had the injury because they couldn't risk the injury coming up in battle. So he had this full training, but none of the commitment. And the mindset is like what he started to instill in me at that age. But and I carried that mindset forward. But for the longest time, I thought that meant like it was like, drill instructor, and this is how you teach people, and that's how things are. It took me a long time to realize that, two things can be true at the same time. You can be firm and fair, but you can also teach people by realizing that they might not be on your level yet, right? So, you have to go backwards and do what you did and ask them, like, why are you feeling this way? What are you feeling? And unless you understand their mindset in that moment, it's tough to not it's tough to help them get to where they're going. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And, it sounds like you guys have done a lot more of that lately, where instead of saying, and it goes back to the conversation about the flow, right? So instead of saying like, "Oh my god, you pussy, like, come on, let's go. It's a show, end of story." You say, "Okay, this is okay. You're allowed to feel this way. Why are you feeling this way? Let's just address it and figure out the path forward."
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that he inadvertently did during all that was because he was transparent with us and let us know how he was feeling, cut out that thing that would happen before where, someone just gets quiet and you're like, "What's wrong with you?" "I don't know, nothing. I'm fine." You're like, "I can tell something's up. What's wrong with you?" "Nothing. I'm fine. Nothing. I just want to be left alone." It's like, did I do something? Like, and you get in like these, like, you take it personal and whatever. Him being transparent with us, we were all feeling anxious. I woke up that morning just feeling sick to my stomach. And I was like, my wife was like, "You do this all the time. Like, you still do this as your job. Like, why do you feel so nervous?" And I was like, because it's been so long since I've done it with these guys. And I just feel like sick to my stomach. And then seeing his text come through, I was like, okay, he's feeling it too. Like, having that transparency, it eased my nerves because now there's someone else to, like, talk to about it. And now
Mm,
there's someone else that I can now relate to on this thing because he's being transparent with us. And not just with me, with all of us. Like, him texting the whole group was huge because all of us, when we met up and got together, so like, yeah, we all feel like we're gonna throw up right now, right? Like, we all feel like we're like gonna pass out for no reason. Okay, cool. So, he really just kickstarted that conversation, but it all comes off of that transparency. And so, to your point, like, you also don't realize what you're learning in that process. Like, in someone else addressing something, you find out something, about yourself right then and there. You're like, yeah, wait, hold on. This is exactly what I'm going through. Um, so yeah.
I love that. You just reminded me of something I learned over the last couple years that was so invaluable, which was that when something's happening to someone, it's happening to everyone in that situation. Like, "Oh my god, I can't believe, like, the worst day, my dog got hit by a car and blah." Everyone that's involved in that is feeling the effects of that energy, of that incident, and the best thing to do is just communicate, because you never know who's gonna, like, have a solution or who's gonna maybe learn from that situation.
Yeah.
Uh, do you think that's way different now than the band was before? Like, you guys didn't communicate as well?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, our communication was awful when we were younger. But again, because we were young and we're out just thrown to the world. We were in Japan at 20 years old, and it was like we shouldn't be here unsupervised. Like, like, this is crazy. Um, so like, I think that this time around, that communication is just huge. And like you were saying, like the things that everyone is, even though it might seem like you're just going through it alone, um, to everyone in that situation is feeling something from it, and
Mm,
talking about it is so vital to the whole thing. Like your dog hit by a car analogy. My dog passed away last year in the beginning of all of this happening. And so I felt like here's this thing that's happening where my old band is getting back together. I'm friends with people that I never thought I was going to be friends with again. There's this exciting new chapter rolling in, and now probably one of the worst things that I could think about happening just happened. Um and like my whole world felt like it fell apart like in hours. And just letting the guys know that, people that didn't for 13 years, didn't really owe me a like, dude, I'm so sorry or whatever, are now like, "Hey, do you need me to fly out? What's going on?" Like,
Mm.
calling me like, "Hey, bud, I just wanted to come call and check in on you. Like, how are you doing?" Like, it's like, "It's killing me. I know how much you loved her. I would see your posts all the time and stuff," and like, that kind of thing. And having that and feeling that like, yeah, it's my loss, it's something that I'm going through, but it is such a juxtaposition from what I was saying earlier about, like, when my grandfather died. Like, that was my
Mhm.
grandfather, and it was being met with, like, "Where were you?" Like, and this time around, it's my dog, and the band's not even active at this point, and I'm getting the calls of, like, "Dude, hey, just" 3 weeks out after she had passed, getting a call from our one of the members like, "Hey, I'm on my way to work. I was just thinking about you. Like, how are you holding
Yeah.
up? How's your wife doing? How are things?" Like, that is like it just makes stepping into the next version of this just so much stronger as like a unit of, you know, brotherhood and whatever else. So,
Cool. I'm happy you have it. And it's funny, you mentioned Japan there. I actually wanted to ask one question about travel. And I
yeah.
also was laughing to myself thinking, like, yeah, imagine you were that 20-year-old in Japan, but you were also signed to that major label contract. What would have happened?
Yeah, exactly. What would have happened? It is yeah, if I mean, we wouldn't have gone to Japan if we were still on the label, but, um, but, yeah, I think just that free for all of being 20, we first of all, we booked it ourselves, and we obviously went for the cheapest flights because we were all broke. I was working at, like, 7-Eleven at the time. So, like, we were all broke. We went for, like, the cheapest flights possible, which meant we had a 22-hour layover in Shanghai, but that 22-hour layover in Shanghai also came with we didn't have visas to be in China. So then we got detained in this like room for 24 hours. And it was
Man,
like the most hectic, crazy thing. And like at the time, we were like, we'll figure it out. We got this. Like, let me talk to him. I don't speak a lick of Mandarin. Like, it's just like, let me handle it. It's like that, like, just that stupid young confidence. And now I look back and I'm like, we got lucky. Like, we got so lucky. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, man, that all of that, like, just being young and experiencing that kind of thing, no, what a cool chapter to the story that we get to have.
That's the thing. I think that's such a key is it's just it's the story, keep writing every day, write something in your story that you're proud of when someone is reading that story 80, 100 years from now. That's how I
Yeah.
like to live as much as possible. So speaking of Japan, I've never been. It's on my bucket list. In fact, my one of my best friends in the world, by chance Japanese, is in Japan right now, sending me photos of his
That's
trip
cool.
with his wife, and I'm like, man, that bastard. Um, what was one of the most eye-opening, mind-altering, life-changing experiences that you took home from traveling or touring as a band?
Um, I think the experiencing different cultures, um, I mean, like, I actually think, like, changed, like, my brain chemistry. I think that, like, everything that you, like, learn growing up and you're told that, like, "America's the greatest country in the world, we're number 1, blah, blah, blah." And then you go to Japan and you're like, "There's not trash on the ground." Like like there's not even gum on the ground. There's like this is, like, insanely clean and, like, wait, you mean, like, at one point, I forgot my passport at a, bus like, at a rest stop that we were at, and then 2 hours later realized that we went back to the rest stop and it was still sitting on the table. No one took it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I am so lucky this is here." And, like, I just think that there's, like when you start to experience different cultures and you're kind of like this wallflower in another country, it is like it's just an experience that I wish that everyone could experience in their life because being in Japan, I mean, Japan is like one of my favorite places that you could ever go. And I think the main reason it's one of my favorites is because of the cultural shock of going. It's like, you get there and everything's in Japanese. Everything is like there is no, like, Japanese and then English underneath or whatever. Because like, going to Germany for the first time, we stopped to get food. Like, as soon as we got there, we landed in Frankfurt, we went out to go get food, and I'm over here like a dumb American, like, I'll have the number 3 with pickles and onions. She's like, "Did you want fries with that?" I'm like, "Oh my god, wait, you speak English?" Like, and they're like, "Yes, stupid, we speak English." Like, it's like Europe has become so like bilingual in their like practices because of tourism, whatever. Whereas like
Mhm,
Japan is just like, "Sure, you can come here and good luck figuring things out and stuff." I would hire a liaison if I were you. Um, and so I think that that is what was so exciting because you're now in this other country that where you are truly the foreigner. You're not
mhm,
like you're not just a tourist, you're not just you are a foreigner and it is up to you to really figure this out. And I think that being so young at the time, you know, you very quickly especially with the respect that Japan holds for their country and the way that they carry themselves and whatever else, being that wild, obnoxious American kid going over there for the first time, within hours was kind of like, "All right, don't hey, don't do that, don't do that." Like, "Hey, dude, get off of that. Don't be doing that." Like, you can
yeah,
feel it. It's like the culture talks back to you. It's like the buildings talk back to you of like, "Hey, we're respected." Like, and and so because of that, you like very quickly at a young age, we lost that like boyish, annoying thing that American boys do, and and it really forced you to like, no, you're gonna respect this. And I think in learning to respect their culture, you then learn to respect what you're doing as well. Learn to respect our business, even though we had our issues and our problems and whatnot. Um, we learned so much from that being our first international place we ever went. We
mhm,
learned so much on how to carry yourself and carry your business and present yourself and the way that you're like this thing that you're representing, um it really holds up. It really is like something that I think that being taught in school or any sort of lesson or whatever, actually experiencing it was like the greatest lesson we could have learned. And it's something I've only learned really from Japan. Like going there and just the way that not just the culture, but the environment and everything is taken care of. It's such a different level of respect that I know for myself Americans are not not taught. So
yeah. Well, it's funny because like, there's so much of that trip that, is also in this conversation. I think that a lot of our ability to work well with others comes from a sense of self-respect. If you treat yourself well, if you know how to go inward and ask yourself how you're feeling or why you're feeling something, it's easier then to reflect outwards. It also goes back to that crazy point you made about, like, being the best, but then wanting others to be the best. There's nothing wrong with this concept of America's the greatest country in the world. If you also are encouraging everyone else to be the greatest country in the world, that's how ultimately this global ecosystem wins, is when we aspire to be number one, but
Mhm.
don't mind being number two if everyone is number one. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's for where things are at right now. It's something that like I just wish that whole like not confusing malice for ignorance would just go such a long way right now. I think we tend to so much lately. It feels like lately. It may have been all along and maybe I was just ignorant to it, but I just feel like in my day to day, the amount of times that you hear stories or see news articles or whatever it is of like the 0 to 100 thing, like
Yeah.
right away. And it's like, dude, that was an innocent mistake that turned into manslaughter. Like, what
Mhm.
is going on, man? And it's just happening everywhere. And it's happening in the most simplest of interactions of, you're at the grocery store and someone thinks that somebody did something or said something or stole a parking spot or whatever. And it just blows up into this whole thing. And you're like, dude, I'm here for green onions. Like this does not need to be what it what it's turning into. Why are we doing this right now? Um, and yeah, man, I think that like right now encouragement is everything. Like
Mhm.
that little bit of encouragement, that little bit of even like I said, like with the band guys, just going back to like that little bit of like, hey man, just checking in. Just wanted to see how you're doing. Like
Yeah.
it just goes such a long way right now because I think we're all feeling just this like how do I, my small thing, what I am and who I am, change the world when the world feels like it's changing who I am at this point? And I think staying true to you and your tenacity and your integrity Um, and like inspiring that and exuding that and being confident in that, confident in the fact that like, yeah, I have boundaries. This is where I draw the line on this. Sorry. Like, I think when you do it in a way that is less of an attack and more of like just a standpoint, I think people will like it opens the conversation of, well, why? Why is that a boundary for you? And
Yeah.
when you explain it, then it's like, oh, wow, yeah. I'm sorry you went through that, but yeah, no, I get that now. Like I actually went through something similar, and then they adopt a boundary and they adopt a thing that, you know, um yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
Context is so important. It's funny, like I don't have all the answers. I'm not a genius, and even if I was, my one of my role models, Mr. Tupac Shakur, he said even a genius asks questions. You're not supposed to
Mm,
stop questioning. But I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen has changed in my lifetime so far is that when I was in high school, when I was in college, university, everything was always about teaching me how to ask questions, not or teaching me like what not teaching me what to think, but how to think.
sure.
And I feel like especially with technology and social media and people born into these devices now, there's this instant grat that's getting worse and worse and worse, where people don't even like Google. Sorry, they don't even ask questions. They don't even figure things out. It has to just be automatic. Like I just need to know I'll just Shazam it. There's no cognitive recall. That is infecting us globally more than we realize because people aren't taking the time to like go inward and ask and then go to you and say, hey, what's your experience and what do you think? It's such a small thing, but culturally it's changing the dynamic of everything. And I see it with a lot of parents. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal at all, but like I'm trying to raise my kids the way that my parents raised me and how I would like to be raised. And when my daughter or son, when they come to me and they're like, hey, what is this? How do you say this? I turn it around and I say, I can tell you for sure, but you tell me how you think you say that. You tell me what you think the answer is. And then I'll work with them for them to get to it on their own terms
Yeah.
because they don't need me. They don't need Google. They can figure it out. It just takes a little bit of effort. And I think that that ultimately is also the answer for all of us is it's going to take a little bit of work, but we got to get off devices. We got to get off social media. We got to start using our brains and our mouths and have conversation. And this ironically goes back to exactly what you were saying before we even hit record, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly, and I love that. I think that's super important. I love the way that, you just explain that with your kids and whatnot, because that's what it is. My biggest probably one of my biggest pet peeves on the internet is when someone in a comment section will ask, "Well, why is this bad?" or "Well, why is this a thing?" And someone responds, "If you don't know, then you're part of the problem." I'm like,
Yeah.
just explain it to him. You just ask the question. If you explained it, you're now changing the world because that person's going to go on and go, "Oh, that's why that's a problem." Yeah, yeah, okay, cool. And then and then one of their friends says like, "Oh, did you see this thing? I don't know why it's such a big deal." And they're like, "Oh, actually, someone just responded to me about that. Here's why it's a big deal." Like when you have that conversation, the internet has made people, I think, um, one, I love that you said that like cognitive retention. Google brain is such a thing. The amount of times that someone will go, "Oh, I know that. I just Googled it." And then they start looking, you're like, "I thought you said you know it." "Yeah, yeah, well, I was Googling it recently." I'm like, "I know, but you don't know it. You just read it on Google and then it went out of your mind. That was it."
Yeah.
Um, and I think that number one, but number two, I think that people think that because you have access to the internet, you should know everything at this point, and Google's right there, it's your friend, just use that, and it's like, "I know, but I wanna hear from you, from your perspective, like, how is how does this affect you? How does this affect the world?" or whatever, and sure, we can do our own research and we can look our own things up, but let's not forget a lot of the research out there is just disinformation. Like, there's a big part of it, and it also goes per your algorithm and whatnot. I mean, me and a family member of mine, we did a little test last summer because we have very opposing views on the way that things are right now. And I said to him, I was like, well, it's also your algorithm. No, no, no. When I watch, I'll show you. When I look it up, like I was like, I know, and look at my Google searches. Like, look at my results and look at yours.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting completely different results because of what we're interacting with, and like that's so important to remember because I think people just expect everyone to like well, you should already know this. You should be, you should already be great. And if you're not, you're part of the problem and you're X, Y, and Z. And I think ostracizing people like that and going back to, the beginning of the conversation, that redemption arc, like allow people to grow. I'm not saying the worst of the
Yeah,
worst things. When someone has done something so heinous to either another person or just something unforgivable, yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the person that made a mistake 25 years ago or 10 years ago on the internet, or 6 months ago may have said something and it, came back to bite them or whatever. Like, okay, yeah, was it shitty? Was it kind of like tongue in cheek what he said? Was it like off the
yeah,
cuff? Yes, and let's explain to that person why they should be better. And if they choose to still double down and be like, screw you, I'm gonna be me, whatever. All right, yeah, maybe they're a little unredeemable. Maybe that person kind of just inherently sucks. But if when you have things that happen and then someone takes the time to work on themselves or learn it or whatever, and people still do the whole, well, let's not remember this on April 4th, you know,
yeah,
2017, this happened and blah, blah, blah. And like, it's like, bro, let people grow, man. Like, and that, going back to the band thing, like, if we all held each other accountable for things that we did to one another, I would have never answered that phone call. I would have never answered those texts. I would have shut Lupe down the second he brought up doing the vinyl. I'd have been like, screw those guys. Like, but we all allowed each other to grow, and all of us did that separately. All of us came to the table separately and said, you know what? Who are you? Who are you
mm,
now? Like, and it's just so important, man. It's so important to just allow people to tell you who they are. Um,
yeah. And
and
to hold space for them to tell you too is it's funny, like, now everyone is talking to their devices. They're talking to Google, they're talking to chat, they're talking to Siri, they're talking to people who believe what they believe. No one is going out of the way to just have conversations with other human beings, especially
right,
ones with opposing views. And how are we going to learn and grow if we don't hear stuff that we don't know? That's the whole point of learning, is to get new information so that we can change our position on things. And there are extreme cases, of I believe in forgiveness now more than anything. I believe in holding space for people now more than anything. I remember there was a story that one of my therapists brought up, and I don't know if it's true or not, but she said, like, what about that woman who murdered her children, and you hate her because of how horrific it was, and how could you do that, especially as a parent, but you don't know that she was raped and molested and abused by her father growing up, and she never got the healing that she needed to do that. And it was on that day that something happened and she got fired, or something with the dad resurfaced and she got triggered, and that's what it was. That doesn't excuse what happened,
yeah,
but hold space for people, because even in the most extreme situations, there are paths forward that are positive.
yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. And I also think that to your point, going back to your other point of two things can be true at once. Like,
Mm,
it can be true that this was a heinous, horrible thing that someone acted on and did, and it can also be true that there was a reason it happened. It can also be
yeah,
true that there's a backstory to it. And yeah, I think, yeah, holding that space and also just sometimes it's okay to say you don't know, like
yeah,
sometimes there are plenty of times that like, I want to respond with something. There are times where I'm in conversation with someone and they say something and I want to tell them that like, that sounds made up. That sounds stupid. But
yeah,
I don't really have the answer. So it's okay to say, yeah, you know what, man, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, but I don't think we do that enough. I think that more times than not, it's like there's these like knee jerk reactions. Like everybody thinks that like it's my chance to bite back kind of thing. And there are plenty of times where I've been in conversations, especially with family. I have a side of my family that we just do not see eye to eye politically. Um, and, like, with that, there's just a lot of times where I just have to say, like, "You know what? I don't know. I'm not sure."
yeah.
Like, you're right, I don't.
But good for you for having those conversations, because we have to, right? That is the best way to do anything, to learn, to heal, to grow, to improve, to have the conversation with the opposing view,
Yeah,
because If you don't, you're not gonna change your position. Then you're just yelling into the echo chamber and you're hearing the same thing you wanna hear all the time, and you're never gonna get better.
Right.
I think it's also important to be humble. I told you this is episode 65 of this podcast series, and I'm realizing in this moment that, man, I am looking really dark and I need to get a light, I'm guessing. I don't even know how to set up the light, but I'll figure it out. You
Yeah.
know, be the best, give it your best, but then don't be so like stubborn that you can't just improve and change and learn and grow along the way. Let me ask you, just coming back to music for a second, kind of like winding down the conversation. I love to take stuff away for people that are watching and listening who are fans of yours or who are musicians. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, the questions would be different, but it's the same intention, is to take something from you to give to them.
Sure.
You know, you've had these crazy experiences. You've toured Japan, you've been signed to a major and then shelved, and then a totally different ball game. What's one of the things that's been most important to your career so far? I mean, I hear the DIY and the tenacity and authenticity, and I think almost every artist says the same thing, you know, but what's it like, for example, booking your own shows versus not, or being on a label versus not? Give me something sage for upcoming songwriters.
Yeah, I think just in general, I have a sticky note that stays next to my computer that's just give 100% effort without expecting anything and you'll enjoy everything. And I live by that. I mean, that is like that is my little mantra that like my dad had one in our house growing up and his was uh preparation meets opportunity is or luck is just preparation meets opportunity. And I always loved that. I always loved that one because I was like, okay, as long as I stay prepared for things and stay good at guitar and stay good at songwriting or whatever, when the opportunity arises, people are going to be like, wow, he's so lucky. Um, and so for me, for myself, I was like, well, my dad always had that quote. I don't want to put that quote in my house. What do I want mine to be? What's my little thing? And I do think that I've like for a long time I've lived by that give 100% effort without expecting anything and you'll enjoy everything because when you're creating going into it, whether it is booking your own shows or it's getting on a label and someone else is now booking the shows for you or promoting your music or whatever, you still have to give 100% effort. You can't,
Mm,
the second you sign to a label, you can't like, ah, cool, we're signed now. That money they just gave you has to be recouped. You owe that. Like, that's not yours to keep. That's like, that's an investment into what because you
yeah.
were giving 100% effort and they saw that effort, like now they're saying, "Hey, I'm willing to invest." But the second you lean off the gas pedal a little bit, the whole thing slows down. Like, they're just getting in the car saying, "Hey, I'll pay for gas on this trip." But like you've got to drive, man. This is yours. This is yours to control and keep moving. And that's, like, something that I need to remind myself sometimes. Sometimes when, like, the going gets tough and you start to feel that, like, that little, like, Groundhog Day feeling of, like, "Dude, I feel like I've been doing the same thing over and over, and I feel like I'm no closer to my goal on it," or whatever it is that you're going for. Um, it's that whole idea that, like, the results lag behind the effort. Like, you
Mm,
just gotta keep on the gas pedal, and yeah, you're gonna see those mile markers go by, and you're gonna look at the ETA and, like, God, the ETA hasn't gone down at all. Like, this is killing me, like, going back to the driving analogy, but sooner or later, you're gonna arrive at your destination, and then that drive is gonna be like, "That wasn't so bad." Like, "Now we can do the drive home," like, kinda thing. And that's how I just, like, I just remind myself that, like, yeah, I'm putting in a lot of effort right now, and the major league story is exactly that. The amount of times that, even the break that we took, we broke up for 10 years. We were in a band. And for 10 years, I continued to do music and I continued to write and I continued to tour and continue to do these things and whatever else. And it kind of felt like I was just treading water. I was just like, ugh, like
mm.
Major League had all these things happen and whatnot. And some days, like, I just feel like I'm like, just can't seem to get ahead of it and whatever else. And then Lupe comes to me with this idea for vinyl, and next thing you know, like now this is picked up, and now not only is Major League touring again and doing this stuff, but now my sole side project is now getting offers to go on tours and do these things because they're like, hey, since like if Major League's going to be doing this, would you be down to do this with your project? And like, hey, we just found your thing because we saw Major League was active again and whatever. Um, and that's that thing of like all that effort I had put in. If I just said like, this isn't going anywhere, I'm not going to do anything yeah, then this isn't gonna then the drive's dead. Like then you're over. And I think that like because I just kept putting in that effort and because I kept doing that thing, majorly coming back didn't feel like such a scary like, oh, do I even know how to do that anymore? It was kind of like,
Yeah.
sure, let's do it. Let's roll. Let's like, let's get back in the van and see how this goes. And I just think that, that is the most important thing, and the last little tag I'll put on the end of it, especially for other artists, is something that I had to like explain to my mom a long time ago was she had said to me, every night I pray for your big break. And I had to let her know that like I appreciate that, but also you have to realize to an artist how damning that statement is because my big break was at 15 when I decided I was gonna do music forever. At whatever level I do it at, that's where I'm happy. If I'm doing it, if this level of having my own home studio and being able to do songwrites every day with people and put out music at my leisure and then go on tour is my idea of making it, like, then that's mine. Then I've made it. I'm successful,
Yeah.
and that's my thing. Um, but I think a lot of artists, I hear it all the time with people that, I work with or whatever that like, "Oh, I just want a big break. I just want a big break." It's like you'll get breaks here and there. There's gonna be moments of like, okay, I can take my foot off the gas a little bit, or I can put it on cruise
Yeah.
control for a minute or whatever. But you're never gonna have a moment where you can just stop doing this or whatever it is. And also hoping that, and this is what I said to my mom, like hoping for my big break negates all the effort and all the experiences and opportunities that I've had along the way. Like being able to go to Japan at 20 years old and going to Europe at 21 and signing to like 2 different record labels in a 3-year span and being able to take this thing that felt like it was dead in the water and take it around the world and releasing 2 full-length records and then being able to adapt and take over when our singer left, like, all of those things were tiny little breaks all along the way, and when you say
Yeah.
you hope for one big one, like, it really just null and voids all that effort and says, like, "Well, those were obviously insignificant compared to the one that's in my mind for you," and, um and I just think that artists need to remember that there's not gonna be one specific moment and your life is better. It might change. It might change for the better. It might change for the worse. It might stay completely the same and just be a little like pickup or whatever it is. But the real aspect of it is that there's hundreds of these daily that you're gonna experience. And, you know, uh every song that I write, I feel like is another little break closer to my idea of what I'm getting to and my idea of success. So, um, yeah.
I love that. You basically just brought so much of what we've been talking about and summarized it or put a pin in it. The mom comment like, "Oh, the big break, that's living in the future. That's not
Right,
living presently, right? That's not enjoying the ride. That's like saying, "Oh, when I retire, I'm gonna move there." Like, no,
mhm,
I'm doing it. I'm doing it now, and whatever it's supposed to be, it'll be. I just enjoy everything that's happening. And then you mentioned your dad. Do you know how many people make it? Do you know how many musicians make it?
yeah,
Yeah, because do you know how many people actually see it all the way through?
yeah,
You only get it if you're in it for so long, and most
yeah,
people give up because
yeah.
it's not easy to just grind and to believe in yourself and to enjoy it. Um, man, I'm trying to find the name of this movie. There's a like Reeves movie that just came out, and it's on Netflix, and it's with Seth Rogen, is it? Uh,
Oh, Jonah Hill.
no, it
I
wasn't Jonah. Was it? No, it wasn't Jonah Hill. I think it was Seth Rogen.
okay.
Oh my god, he plays like an angel. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this movie? I
I
need to
think so.
figure
I
it out.
thought maybe it was directed by Jonah Hill or something. I thought that Jonah Hill was involved somehow, but,
I need to
uh,
figure this out, and it's so funny based on the conversation that we're having now because, Keanu Reeves, Angel, technology. It's called Good Fortune.
okay.
It came out last year.
Oh, okay.
Um, it's so funny because the character, man, I feel so bad. I think it's Aziz Ansari. So he's like an Uber driver and he's like just totally down on his luck. And he keeps like, I can't wait until, and then he meets Seth Rogen's character and he's like this uber rich guy who basically doesn't do anything. Uh, and he's like, oh man, if I had this life, do you know what I would do? And they change lives, they change roles,
Uh-huh.
but he's not happy. He doesn't get happy because the whole point of it is finding the value in your life and embracing what you have. So if you haven't seen that movie, go check it out.
I
I'm
will.
not making any
I
money
will.
off of that recommendation, but it just
Yes.
like summarizes this conversation.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. And it's true, man. You know, it's like a saying that's been beaten into the ground, the whole the grass is greener thing, but it's the truth. The older you get, the more you realize that it's true, you know? And uh, I think that every move that I've made along the way that I thought was going to make my life better or I projected onto as like the this will change things or whatever, never really did. And then the serendipitous moments, you know, of like, yeah, let's go hand out these CDs or hey man, can I press the truth is on vinyl or whatever it is. It's like the wolf pack thing. Like all the serendipitous moments of my life are the ones that I talk about in interviews, are the ones that like actually
Yeah,
brought things to the next level for me, are the ones that actually did anything. And and I think that it's such an important thing to remember that like yes, could things be like a little bit better all the time? Yes, but they could also be a little bit worse and they could also be, you know, whatever they're going to be. But I think when you're in it and you stay with the flow of things and you stay on on the path that, you know, feels the most natural and authentic to you, you'll find your way out. Like it'll
yeah.
be all right.
Shout out to Brian McShay of The Good Terms, who I interviewed like in February. He said they have this saying with their band, which was "Hell yeah, brother." So I'm
I
saying
love
"Hell yeah, brother" to you,
hell
and
yeah.
I'll take some of your sayings forward as well. I really appreciate your time. This has been such an awesome conversation, and I just wanted to randomly ask if people ever call you BJ or
So badge. My initials are BAJ, and so I get badge all the time. It's
but
like
not BJ?
no, BJ was like something that like very quickly came in and died when uh like in 6th grade when my friends all found out what BJs were and they were like, "Oh, BJ, BJ." And then it just kind of died. Like it's like
It could
and I was
be, you know what?
like
My mom always says it could be worse because my last name is Gonda, and so I got gonorrhea in high school,
oh
and
no.
then but I was gonna say I'm Christopher James, so we could do the BJ and CJ hour and have this
Yeah,
conversation again.
right. I love that.
Do me a favor and consider the marketing idea of the tour or one of the tours called being called a major league comeback.
A major league comeback. There it is, right? I love it.
I normally say like, "Here's the mic, wrap us up," but you just gave us some amazing insight. I really appreciate, you know, your time, your authenticity. How do we end? Wrap us up.
Wrap us up here. All right. Uh, don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things.